Washington mornings on the Mall. 105.9 FM. And AM 630. WMAL.
8:07. Happy Friday to you, Brian Neiman, Brian Wilson with you.
Day before St. Patty's Day.
Right.
You got to wear your tomorrow?
I'm going to have to.
Yeah.
I don't think I have a lot of green to wear, though.
Will you drink green beer?
Sure, I'll drink any kind of beer.
Whatever color
I don't
it is.
discriminate. Come on. Oh, we'll get into this story out of Loudoun County where these parents are facing charges because their kids have been late to school 85 times. That's on the way. But ABC's Jonathan Karl is on the line right now, senior political correspondent, and is hosting this week on ABC on Sunday. Good morning, Jonathan. Good to have you on.
Good morning. Never late here for you. Never late.
All right. So here's you spoke with Newt Gingrich right after the primaries in Mississippi and Alabama, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. So explain to me his rationale for staying in the race at this point.
Well, Gingrich's top goal right now, he knows he's not going to clinch the nomination before the convention. He probably knows that it's a long shot there as well. His primary goal right now is to stop Mitt Romney from getting a majority of the delegates before the convention, and he believes, and by the way, I think he's probably right on this, despite the conventional wisdom, that the best chance of stopping Mitt Romney is to have Newt Gingrich stay in the race, because the minute he drops out, it's not like, whoa, snap your fingers, all his votes go to Santorum.
Right.
That doesn't necessarily happen. Some of those votes are going to go to Mitt Romney, and right now, Romney's got a big lead, but statistically, if you look at it, Brian, he cannot get a majority of the delegates before the convention unless the dynamic changes. Gingrich drops out, suddenly it's a 1-to-1 race. Romney's vote total goes up. Sure, Santorum's does too, but Santorum's way behind.
Mm-hmm.
Romney's goes up, he could get enough to clinch. And by the way, one other thing, all of that Romney firepower can now be, if Gingrich is out, can all be focused on Rick Santorum.
Right. Now, but does Gingrich think that he can win the nomination if it goes to the convention, which it looks like at this time, I agree with you, that it's going to go there. Does he think he could actually come out of the convention as the nominee, or does he just want it not to be Romney?
Well, I think, remember, Gingrich sees himself as a kind of world historic figure. I mean, there was that... when the Washington Post went through the archive of its papers at West Georgia University, he was quoted back in 1991. This is well before he was speaker and still a backbencher, saying that when the history of conservatism is written, I will be a chapter. Since that, his kind of sense of self is I think even far greater than that. So I think that he believes that if he gets to a convention, as he says. He is the only one of these guys who has actually run a whip operation. Remember, he was the minority whip in the House. He thinks that he can make the case that he's the guy that has the intellectual firepower to take on Obama and could win. So I think Gingrich believes it, but make no mistake, he wants to stop Romney.
All right, so let's play a little game here. Let's assume a couple of things. Let's assume that we go forward as we are, and all three men and Ron Paul stay in the race. As we get and approach to the convention, nobody has 1144, but we got Mitt Romney in the lead. How does it then play out in the convention? I mean, the one thing I keep coming to is he's going to be, let's say, maybe 100 delegates short, and there's going to be one guy over there who has about 100 delegates, and that would be Dr. Ron Paul.
Yeah, and it's not like, by the way, Ron Paul can order his delegates to go and that they have to go lockstep and go in one direction.
But if he put down the word, I want you to support Mitt Romney, many of them would.
Yeah, and look, it's clear, right? I mean, we all see it that Paul far prefers Romney to these other guys. I mean, he's almost been a co-chairman of the Romney campaign.
Well, exactly my point.
But do we have any sense of why that is?
Well, there's a couple theories on this, and one is personal ties. Ron Paul's wife is very close to Ann Romney. The Pauls and the Romneys get along. Back in 2008, Ron Paul is often the outcast at these debates. You see him kind of standing to the side.
Right.
Romney has made a point to be very good to Paul, and also to kind of pay a lot of attention to his wife, and to be to have a connection there. And I think, frankly, part of it is personal. The other thing is Paul looks at the records of these guys, on the issues that he really cares about, the fiscal issues he really cares about, and Romney's, I think he argues, stands up better. Publicly he argues they're all the same, but I think when he looks at them, he sees, Romney's actually a guy that's gone out there in the private sector, has succeeded, venture capitalist, understands how the system works, the free market system works, and on the merits, I think if you really put him into kind of give him some truth serum, he'll tell you he likes Romney better on the merits.
Right. We're talking with ABC's Jonathan Karl, senior political correspondent, and is guest hosting ABC's This Week. Now, obviously the Republicans are jumping all over the president on the prices of gas right now. Is there any pushback from Democrats in Congress right now to the president and his policies, his energy policies? And I'm thinking specifically about the pipeline. Oh,
sure, there is. The way you guys know this, I mean, the notion of moderate Democrats is almost as rare now as moderate Republicans in the Congress. So there aren't a lot, but you certainly do have pushback from some Democrats, from the people like Joe Manchin and Mary Landrieu, some of those who are very much pro domestic production of energy, in favor of the pipeline. But it's a relatively small sliver of the party. But I think that you certainly have Democrats that are very uncomfortable with us, particularly on that pipeline. That's going to be a tough one.
Well, are you surprised that he doubled down on the pipeline, and now his approach seems to be to make fun of those who believe that the way you actually solve the problem is by increasing the supply and actually going out and drilling? He's talking about how everybody who believes that are just flat earthers.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a tough case for him to make. I mean, it's a good applause line before a group of committed Democrats before your base. But when people are staring down $4, maybe even $5 a gallon gas, I don't think that's really going to be a winner for him. But he's in a bind. The president, on one hand, wants to talk like he's in favor of as much domestic production of energy as possible. You hear them citing statistics. Domestic energy production has never been higher. Of course, a lot of that is because of this production, the shale production in North Dakota and in Ohio and Pennsylvania, which the administration's done nothing to encourage. But they cite those stats and say that the Republicans are wrong when they portray us as against domestic production. We're just talking about, having all kinds of production. And on the other hand, you can't make that case without really alienating the core environmental base of the party that doesn't want domestic production. And by the way, wouldn't mind $10 a gallon gas. Because it would force us to use alternative sources of energy.
All right, who do you have on the show on Sunday?
We've got Rick Santorum, and it'll be a network exclusive. And this will be, I think, probably the time to talk to Santorum because he's coming off those wins in Mississippi and Alabama. And, he looks at this point to be the last man standing between Romney and the nomination. Don't tell Gingrich that, but that's what it looks like.
Yeah.
And then I'm kind of excited about this. On the round table, first ever appearance, I believe, on a round table for one of these since he was governor. We have Haley Barbour, the former governor of Mississippi, is going to be up there along with Bill Burton, of course, George Will, and Nia Malik Henderson of the Washington Post.
All right, good stuff. Thanks for coming on, Jonathan. We appreciate it. We'll be watching.
All right.